So the WNBA draft, the NCAA championship game, the WNBA finals all tell the same story, yet people keep fighting over the context. What do I mean by that? I feel like a repeat because the WNBA draft was the second highest rated WNBA draft, which is great, right? Like that is a good thing. And ESPN is celebrating it like the good thing it is. Same thing for the NCAA women's tournament that had the best non Caitlin Clark ratings on an ESPN platform, right? Like it was just below 2023. It was way below 2024, which was down 10 million. And it was better than every other one. And then the WNBA finals that I'm referencing were the highest rated this century. At least game 5 was. And I know a bunch of the games did really well, but they were below the Fever Sun game, the last Caitlin Clark game. So like the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise. They don't rise to the level of Caitlin Clark games, but the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise, and people keep fighting over the context. And the way I've tried to put this is there is no with and without Caitlin Clark. It's not like it does this with Caitlin Clark. It does this without Caitlin Clark. It's all in conjunction with Caitlin Clark. I mean, it's common sense, right? That when a whole bunch of new people join in large part because of Caitlin Clark, they then get interested in other things. They then start following other teams. And the platform then becomes bigger for new stars to rise. You know, Paige Beckers probably would not have been on the media tour she's on now had last year not happened. You know, Nafisa Collier was on First Take talking about the Fever. I mean, she didn't just talk about the Fever's national televised games, but that's the thing that blew up. She probably wouldn't have been on First Take had last year not happened. That doesn't mean Collier didn't deserve to be on First Take. That doesn't mean Paige Beckers didn't deserve this media tour. And maybe she would have gotten it, and it just wouldn't have got as much attention. So I want to make sure I'm also being accurate in my assessments here. But you get the general point, right? And again, the graphic that was shared by ESPN, and this is their PR. So it is their job to spin it as positive for ESPN. Second most watched WNBA draft of all time, up 119% from 2023. And people go, well, where's 2024? Of course, Clark fans will go, where's 2024? Well, it was down. Like, you know, twice as many people watched in 2024. But this is, you know, Jamel Hill's comment on it. Excellent news. Caitlin Clark is going to get more viewers as big stars in sports usually do. But this is a 50% increase from the 2023 draft, a non-Caitlin Clark year. This is among the many signals that the growth is real and most importantly, sustainable. Well, yeah, the growth, you know, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like Caitlin Clark was the catalyst. She's an anomaly in the sense that she's more popular and bigger than everybody else, really, than I've seen, period. But she's also the catalyst for the continued growth. And, you know, the further away we get from her bursting on the scene with Iowa and being a rookie in the WNBA, the more and more we don't need to view things through the context of that. But it's important right now because it's recent history. And the context is good for everybody, right? Like when I say anomaly and catalyst, anomaly means, yeah, nothing's going to reach her levels. So it is fair to compare the numbers to numbers that don't involve her too. Catalyst, well, the numbers are up since then. It's not a coincidence that happens. L. Duncan wrote about this online as well. So we all know last year was pretty anomalous with CeCe being who she is. So to track actual growth, since she isn't ever going to be drafted again or play in college again, we used the 2023 metric to track actual growth and progress. 2023 was record-setting as well. I mean, I get it, you know, to an extent, of course. I just, you know, she is not going to be drafted again. That's true. And she's not going to play in college again. Also true. But her playing in college and her being drafted contributed to this ratings growth. Pretty simple concept. But, you know, the numbers are impressive. I see other points of view out there. This one, And I get this feeling. Here's my thing ultimately. If you're going to admit 2024 because Caitlin Clark rocketed the numbers in ways that are hard to ever reproduce due to her massive popularity, then don't also say that last year's boom in popularity was not just about Caitlin Clark every chance you get. And that was, like there was a lot, the WNBA reverence tax coming up last year, or Caitlin Clark's name maybe being Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese it got changed to, or Caitlin Clark and the rookie class that it got changed to. But, this is not a either or scenario. And there's really no reason for it to be two competing ideologies, like the Clark faction, who's like, everything is about Caitlin Clark. And then the other side was like, the growth of the game without Caitlin Clark. The two go hand in hand. And it's good. I think I talked about this with the rookie video I just did. I think that the next wave of players recognizes that and embraces that. I think it's like, Cheryl Miller said, you big dummies. More of that money is coming in. The CBA is going to change because of that. The chartered planes thing changed because of that. The visibility that Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins have changed because of that. Now they earn that on their own too. Right? Like you don't want to that's why I try to be very careful how I phrase it. I try to tell the truth, but also, be respectful to people who are their own individuals and have carved out their own path and worked their ass off to get where they are. And now, there are going to be more storylines in the WNBA that people are aware of. Haley Van Lith being on the Chicago Sky is a storyline with Angel Reese. Got nothing to do with Kate. I mean, it has a connection to Caitlin Clark, but doesn't have anything to do with Caitlin Clark when they're playing other teams and with, the fact that people know who Haley Van Lith is. You got Iowa fans who are rooting for Lucy Olson to make the Mystics. Yeah, is there a connection with Caitlin Clark there too? Yeah. But that's a separate storyline. Same with Kate Martin and what she does with the Valkyries. There's a connection, but it's a separate storyline. Now, how do the Aces respond? I got nothing really to do with Caitlin Clark other than more people are familiar perhaps with them. How did the Lynx respond to losing in the finals? The Liberty, those are separate stories. And there's, and Paige on the wings. That's a separate story in and of itself, which is a great story for the WNBA this year. Those are good numbers, more than 1 million. Like it's crushed what it used to do. So it is reason to celebrate. It is. I guess I just get confused because sometimes I feel like I'm one of the only people that tries to put it in the proper context instead of like it's either here or here when it's both. Not this or that. This and that are a match. And it's a good thing. Right?